Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council, hanging out with Comcast to tell our 50 summer stories of Pittsburgh technology. And we're talking to somebody who I would say is a true tech pioneer in Pittsburgh. We have Ari Lightman from Carnegie Mellon University, professor of digital media and marketing, and has what I am calling the absolute best Zoom background of anyone I've ever interviewed during this pandemic. Ari, you make me want to just take off into space right now. That's all I can say.
That's what I was hoping for.
You have succeeded. So Ari, I'm really excited to talk to you today because you run some really cool programs around Capstone Projects at Carnegie Mellon University. They're just absolutely crucial. I love it when universities and private industry come together to solve tough problems and get students engaged and show them what it's like working in the real world, for lack of a better term. And we want to make sure these projects continue no matter what's going on in the outside world. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. And anything else you want to talk about? If we want to do a little nerd out on previous Pittsburgh tech history, we could do that too, which I think would be kind of fun.
For half an hour, Jonathan, you name it.
Very cool. Well, let's just start with your tech chops, man. You got some great experience. You work with so many cool tech companies in Pittsburgh and now with Carnegie Mellon. Give us a little bit about your background and what Ari is all about.
Oh boy. So way back when. No. So I came to Pittsburgh from Toronto to do my master's in engineering. Came back to do my MBA. My wife and I both work in technology. When I left Tepper, when I left business school, I was really interested in startups. I had done one in San Francisco. So I joined a company called Co-Manage here. One of those great companies that kind of spun out of Four Systems, sort of, but was started by two tech visionaries, Andy Fraley and Dave Nelson. It's just great to work there. So I was there for a while. I was with a early stage route level management company in Philadelphia for a while. I was at Innovation Works for, I don't know how long I was at Innovation, but that was great because I got to look at cool stuff. I got to look at the future of robotics, the future of sensing, the future of social networking, those sorts of things. And I eventually just joined one of the companies that I sort of led an investment in, which was Red Zone.
Right.
So I was there for a while and worked on sales from a robotics perspective, which was just great, creating a pipeline of sales for very novel, innovative robotic systems in the utility space. Then I did some management consulting, and now I'm a professor at CMU.
And you've been there for like almost 10 years now too, which is pretty cool. I think maybe you found your thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird how we kind of follow our parents, whether we like it or not. My dad he was a professor, laser optics, physicist, and I kind of have this memory of him always bringing back grad students, right?
Okay.
And cool things in a lab that I used to get to play with. And
I mean, there's lasers involved, right? I mean, come on.
Cool. So now I'm kind of doing what my dad did, so I'm a professor at Carnegie Mellon, which is great. People there are absolutely phenomenal. It's wonderful being bombarded with new ideas and new technologies. And it's sort of an entrepreneurial kind of environment. If you want to create a new program, do it. Let's see how it works. Let's figure it out.
See, that's why I say CMU is such a jewel for our region. I honestly say without Carnegie Mellon and like Pitt and the other universities, Pittsburgh would not be where it is today. And I'm glad because it attracted people like you here to Pittsburgh to do all the crazy cool things you've done. I feel like you're kind of like the Johnny Cash of tech. You've been everywhere, man. And I think that's so cool.
You should be wearing all black.
I think you got to start doing that now. I'm going to stop.
That is a cool compliment.
You're the Johnny Cash, man. It's simple as that. And what I love is you've taken all these experiences and you're bringing that to Carnegie Mellon, and you're able to then now take this and then connect industry and students and research and all this cool stuff that's going on through the Capstone programs, right?
So one of the things is it's kind of interesting. So after a while, you kind of figure out what you're good at.
Okay.
It's been told to me many times that, Ari, you know a lot of folks and you connect a lot of folks.
Right.
You get a lot of folks excited. about technology, which is something I've been doing for my entire life.
Okay.
So I did that in terms of bringing companies to Carnegie Mellon with a class that I created called Measuring Social, which is an experiential learning environment similar to our Capstone environment.
Mm-hmm.
I bring in up to 14 companies a year and just throw them in front of students to say, okay, these guys have an issue around unstructured data. They want you to help them associated with assessing that. Just go. And by being at Carnegie Mellon, by leveraging my network, we've got the chance to work with Netflix, HBO, Warner Brothers,
Wow.
Mercedes, Ford, you name it, Microsoft, Cisco, all the Google a few times, YouTube, all these cool companies, which is great for students, not just as a resume builder, but the larger the company, the more well-known, the bigger the issues that they have.
Right.
I don't think there's big issues. One of the biggest issues is, what do we do with all this unstructured data that we're collecting all this social data? What do we do with it? Do we use it as a predictor associated with how to communicate, how to engage, those sorts of things? So it's a fun class. It's hard to teach, and it's a weird experience, but the students that like it, they really like it.
I was gonna say they go head first into that, man. It becomes something like a wormhole where you're like, you get taken away.
I had students working with Kate Spade last semester. They did a fantastic job. I had students working with A&E Entertainment, looking at scripted and unscripted content. Cisco, Microsoft, Mondelez. We were working for Cadillac to understand sort of the electrified vehicle market for them.
Wow. I mean, just the range of projects that you work on is just amazing, which just goes to show you what the skills that happen at Carnegie Mellon and the students there, it just cuts across every industry because they all need to have these really tough problems solved. And it takes sharp minds that want to explore and seek things out. I think it's so cool. And so tell us about this Capstone program and how it works, because I think this is just such a cool thing.
Yeah, so Capstone, the idea behind the projects are every student who comes to, and this is in the Heinz College, there's capstones in other colleges as well,
right?
But specifically within the Heinz College, Information Systems and Public Policy, all students are required to do a capstone project.
Okay.
Right? So, we work with a variety of different folks, the usual suspects, PwC, the large banks, those sorts of things, a variety of other folks, to source projects for the students to work on. And it's part and parcel of what I see going on across higher education. That, we spent a lot of time, you and I were talking about our history, growing up, when we were going to university, there was a lot of rote-based education where you have somebody who's a worldwide expert on something, sharing with you a variety of stuff that they know of, and having you process that information and then showing you that there's some assurances of learning. They've learned it, they understand it.
We think this is correct. If you believe us, you can now have this knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's such a stressful situation. It's almost like a boiler room environment. By the time they leave campus, 12 hours later, they've forgotten everything.
Exactly.
The course of the class, right? There's simulated learning where we do simulations, right? We might do case studies, or we might do actually online simulations, those sorts of things. But I love the idea of experiential learning, because that is really where the rubber hits the road associated with challenge.
Exactly. You
got to deal with the ambiguity. You got to deal with project management. You got to deal with relationship development. You got to deal with task allocation, task management. It goes on, and it is a real world environment in a sort of university educational setting.
Right. Exactly. Right? Yeah, no, that's why I think it's so cool, because it brings the students right to where the action is. None of this like, this is what it'll be like when you're working on a project in consulting. It's like, no, you're in it right now. You need to get a deadline for tomorrow. Get on it.
So here's a perfect case. We're working with one of the world's largest banks, I won't mention who, on a reputational management scoring mechanism when a bunch of class action lawsuits are being filed against them with impropriety. So you can see trust go up and down in real time.
Exactly.
It's just fascinating. we're working with one of the largest entertainment companies in the world when the entire team got laid off.
Oh
So
my
now
gosh.
the team doesn't have a sponsor. They have no connection, but you got to keep going. This is real. You have to finish up and you have to develop a valuable end product to your client. So anything and everything can happen. We often talk about this in marketing. We could talk a lot about programs, products, services in theory, in concept, but once they go out into the wild, people use them for a variety of different mechanisms that you didn't think of before, right? So this is really where the deployment part of research, development, and deployment comes in. You're helping companies actually think about what it looks like to deploy these things and what to get ready for. So I think, with experiential learning, with our Capstone projects, it's a fantastic learning experience, not just for the students, but also for the companies that come in and sponsor these projects.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask you about that because it's literally like it becomes this two-way street where it's like they're going to get as much out of it as the student does.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're getting thousands of hours of time spent and some really smart analytical time and engineering time spent on some of these issues that they have, whether it's operational issues or strategic issues or just something in terms of tactics that they need to launch. And the folks that understand that and help the students out, they get their perspective, right? So you get an unfettered, fresh set of eyes looking at this problem statement, which they might have never gotten before. So the students actually become almost experts at this specific issue, the specific space, the specific recommendation, and that's great. And I just listened to a Capstone presentation. It was fantastic in terms of the amount of analysis and data that they did to really help this company out.
You got to start raising your rates then.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. With my class, which is measuring social, I worked with administration to say, listen, I don't want any barrier associated with companies coming to me associated with this project. So I've kept it free. It's an educational endeavor.
Oh,
right?
Sweet.
With our capstones, we ask for a $10,000 up to $10,000 charitable donation.
Right.
That's based. They don't have to do it, but we ask them. If you have seen value associated with this, it would help out tremendously. And a lot, I would say, a good portion of companies feel happy to do.
I would say they're stroking that check at the end of the thing, being like, "This is pretty cool. This is money well spent." Being able to
about $150,000 in front
of a bunch of smart
consulting time for 10 grand. Absolutely.
So how long do these projects last for? Is it a full semester? Is it for a full year, 2 semesters? How does that work?
Yeah, so it runs a full semester. We do them in the spring and we do them in the fall.
Okay.
We source about 25 to 30 projects, both in the spring and in the fall.
Okay.
And you get a team of 3 or 4 very talented students working with you, as well as somebody who's sort of a dedicated advisor, usually a faculty member, with domain knowledge or organizational knowledge associated with the client. And then, it's just a wonderful experience going back and forth with the students. Some folks actually use it as a proving ground, right? So it's like, you've done phenomenal work for us. You understand our industry. You understand our issues. You need a job.
Yeah, you're graduating in the spring, correct? How about coming working for us?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think it's one of those ways where they get to test each other out as well. So you get students that know, I love this. I want to do more, and so that way it allows that kind of like get to know each other type of a scenario, and creates an opportunity then to keep some of this talent here in Pittsburgh, Ari, which is what we need to show them that there's great opportunities here. And
listen, you and I both have a vested interest in making sure that our region grows. And it continues to sort of keep some of the tech talent that we're incubating at Carnegie Mellon.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see my students walking around, Shady Side and Squirrel Hill.
Exactly.
And, it's great cost, quality of life here. Great cost of living associated with it. So, yeah, I would like to see more engagement between Pittsburgh-based firms and some of the educational and student-based talent that we have.
Yeah, we got to build that up more because there's so many cool opportunities in Pittsburgh, problems that need to be solved that companies of all sizes are working on. I bet you from startup to, a Fortune 500 company that's in Pittsburgh, like here's an opportunity to get in front of the smartest people to solve some really specific, crazy problems, and like let's make it happen. So, is there still time for people to apply for a Capstone?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So, we're giving ourselves a little bit more leeway because of the pandemic and COVID. In order to bring in some really interesting capstones for the students to work on in the fall. Once again, we're looking for that 25 to 30 number. But, we'd love to reach out to Pittsburgh-based companies. I mean, there are some that we've worked with and we continue to work with, but there's a variety of others that we can engage with and work with on some of these capstones. And I think they'll find it a phenomenal mechanism to utilize some talent out at Carnegie Mellon.
How could you not do this? I say as a company out there. And
you and I,
every company I know that belong in the tech industry here in Pittsburgh, and I'd say in the world, they're all looking for talent because they have so much work they got to get done. Here's an opportunity to get a big chunk of work done in a specialized area and do it, well. So I think we got to get people out there.
There's always issues associated with confidentiality, with data exchange, availability, those sorts of things. And, I just want to say to some of your members, we're willing to work with you on that.
Okay. I like that. Yes. So the idea is that you're flexible. You can kind of talk it through and figure out the best way to make the project work, right?
Absolutely. It's part and parcel. Some folks are just worried about working with an educational institution, especially an educational institution that might have a lot of international students. But we've solved a lot of those issues. And we can address a lot of those issues. So
we got to clear the air on this a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because that should not be something that keeps you working with one of the world's top universities here, for crying out loud. It's like they understand, they have ways to make sure things are going to be cool, things are going to be safe and secure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'd love to replicate some of the stuff that we've done with, in the past with Milan and BNY Mellon and UPMC, of course, and replicate that across the Pittsburgh region. Right?
Definitely. If you could describe like an ideal project, or is that even possible because they're all so different? I don't know.
I mean, we've done so many cool projects, Jonathan. So I'll give you an idea of a project that I feel very close to, and I think was just cool. So, we've had this relationship with the Pittsburgh International Airport for half a dozen years.
Yeah.
They're just a great partner. We did a project last year on looking at the queuing time for the security line, right? And how can we change things around by understanding data, understanding queuing theory, understanding arrival time, wait time, service time, those sorts of things. And it's so cool seeing the students go down to the airport and just do field experiments, right?
Oh, wow. Are you serious? Okay, cool.
Look at people, analyze data, understand the process, understand the operation, and then report back in terms of a data model, how things can change, how they can optimize things, how things can become more efficient, right? How can they focus on customer service and efficiency within the airport as well?
Very cool. I think that's why I'm just excited for you guys. We're going to spread this out. So hopefully some companies will see this and they're going to reach out to you and be like, yeah, we got a project and let's figure out how we can make this thing work. Cause I like the fact that this is not cookie cutter. This is all custom. And so the idea is that any fears, just talk it through, to zoom in with Ari. I'd say have a cup of coffee, but we really still can't do that yet, unfortunately. But enjoy Ari's nice background here. And,
I can zoom to you.
Exactly. He can just fly that thing right over wherever he wants to go. It's all good. It's all good. Anything else that people should know about this before we wind this thing up? 'Cause I think this is such a cool opportunity, and I think it's one of the things that makes Pittsburgh just so awesome.
No, I mean, I would just encourage folks to reach out. Even if you don't want to take advantage of the Capstone Project, you might have other ideas associated with connections with Carnegie Mellon. And, this is what we want to do. We want to create more of an inclusive environment around the Pittsburgh and the Southwest PA region when it comes to new tech, innovation, privacy, security, you name it. Right?
Awesome stuff, man. So cool. I'm so glad we got to catch up a little bit, and we'll have to save part 2 for our deep dive nerd out of Pittsburgh Tech circa 2001. Because I think we both have some pretty funny stories to tell. And I'm still going to say you are the Johnny Cash of Pittsburgh Tech, dude. Simple as that. You've been everywhere. Can't thank Comcast enough for
I hope I don't go to Folsom Prison.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Can't thank Comcast enough for allowing us to tell these 50 summer stories. These are important stories you're not just hearing anywhere. You can tell this is a story you would not know about until we talk to Ari. Ari, you are the best.
Thanks, Jonathan.